We are live. Happy Friday, everybody. Today is Friday, December 13th, Friday the 13th. Super excited to be here with my old friend. And by old, you're not old, I'm old, but we've been knowing each other a long time. Lisa Hill, who is a realtor extraordinaire. She is a board member at Aura, and she's got a great story about leadership and her passion for leadership. And so I'm very, very honored to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. We tried earlier in the year, and I had all sorts of kind of conflicts on my calendar. That's what happens when poor Derek is working 24/7 like a crazy man, and we're trying to figure out my schedule. So are we good, Derek? How are we looking? We got Derek over here, by the way, who's trying to maneuver through this. Are we live on Ted Bogert? Are we live on the TED Show?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so you can see comments if we have comments.
Mm-hmm.
And then Derek, if anybody says anything or asks anything, he'll let us know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's the big thing that we do at the beginning of the show? We always want to know the origin story. We want to know a little bit about Lisa Hill. We want to kind of know how you got here. We were joking earlier that I don't think you were 4 years old and asked for a realtor Barbie. Maybe you did. But tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an Orlando native.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, I was born in Orlando, and not that I ever had the desire to go into real estate. It kind of just happened for me. And I started my career as a legal secretary for a real estate attorney.
How did you get into, what did you want to be? You want to be a ballerina like everybody, a singer? What did you want to do?
Actually, you're going to laugh. I wanted to join the Navy.
Did you really? Why? Did you have family in there?
My uncle was a sailor, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to get out of school and I'm going in the Navy. Well, that didn't quite happen. I ended up getting married when I was 18. So,
you were a child bride.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
And so then I had my daughter, and 2 years later, and it's like, okay, now what do I do?
Right.
And so I decided to go in and be a legal secretary, and I worked for a real estate attorney at one of the big title companies here in Orlando. Right. And so I did all of the claims work. It was insurance fund. And so we did all the claims work, and I just thought, this is really kind of interesting.
Were you representing the insurance company or the consumer?
The consumer.
Fantastic.
And so, we did all kinds of claims work. And so from there, I thought, well, I got a little bored with it. And I went on a journey. And so I went to a title company. And I started doing all of their closings.
All right. So you became, that's kind of a natural progression, right? You've got the legal background.
Right.
And so, yeah, that, especially on the insurance side, because, I own 4 insurance agencies, 25 years, I'm still licensed. It's not necessarily a fun thing to do.
No.
Right? There's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
So you go to a title company, which then you did the closing. So you're out working with the real estate agents, working with the lenders, working with the consumers.
That's right. And I prepared all of the closing documents. I prepared HUDs. This was back before computers. So we had to actually
computers. You are so much younger than me. Would you have triplicate carbon?
Yeah.
Carbon paper.
And
nobody believes me that existed. They think it's a lie.
And you know what? Anybody that's out there in the title world, they'll know when I say this. I had to prepare a HUD with a calculator.
Wow.
So we did everything by hand. We didn't have computers. So
you calculate. That's fascinating because right now we have a hard time doing it just with a computer program.
Yeah.
So doing it on paper, we used to do that. We took life insurance applications and some homeowners applications, handwritten back in the day.
Yeah.
And I think people are amazed we were so, certainly isn't the most efficient way to get your work done.
No.
So you get into the title world, you're doing the closings. What was the impetus or what was the catalyst for you to go, all right, I want to sell real estate?
Well, there was one day I went to work for, I was the office manager for an appraisal firm. And so this appraiser tells me, if you get your real estate license, I will train you as an appraiser. So I actually started in 1986 as an appraiser. I have 20 years of appraisal background.
Again, did not know that.
See? Yeah.
Okay, so you got under the houses, on the roofs. That's inspector, but you're still appraising. You still have to look at everything.
Well, in FHA, I was an FHA appraiser.
Oh, wow.
And yes, I did have to crawl and crawl spaces. I ran into a lot of snakes. I had a lot of bumps on my head because I would jerk up and
well, you would freak out, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize what you have to go through to get the right appraisal, because back in the day, that's before everything was so regulated.
That's it.
Appraisers had a lot of, you had a great relationship with your realtor, and so you could kind of work with them, but you still had to look at things because it's your license on the line.
That's exactly right. And FHA, they were terrible. I mean, their guidelines were like, and we were graded back then. Like I said, this was before computers, so we didn't really have computers, and so you had a grade sheet that was issued by FHA, and if you got less, a 5 was the best you could get, and if you got like a 3, 2, or 1, you were like devastated because they could literally cut your business off. And so you strive just to get the very best, and it was kind of a crazy world back then. And then we got computers.
What's great, though, about what you're talking about, this is why you've got this really well-rounded approach, I think. We'll talk about the leadership in a minute. You've got the legal background, so you did closings. You've got the appraisal background, and then you get into real estate. So maybe you got tired of crawling under houses. Is that what happened?
Yes, it was back in 2007, which was, we were getting ready for the crash.
Yeah, we were.
And I just said, you know what, they came out with HVCC, which is, an appraisal thing that the government took over. And so I was literally going to make less than I did as a trainee in 86.
Wow. And
I just said, I'm not doing that. I've got a real estate license. Let me go sell some houses. And that's what I did. I jumped in with both feet, totally just went.
But no sales experience, right? No. So, but because you have the knowledge of the business, I think that's what I want people to hear. Like, so you've got the knowledge of the business. That's one thing. But you didn't have the sales experience.
Right.
I think people think, oh, well, Lisa Hill, they think about our guests about this kind of stuff a lot. Lisa Hill, she was born with that knowledge. She 1,000% was going to be the best salesperson ever. But you really worked every aspect of real estate.
Yeah.
And so jumping into sales is completely different. So talk about that. What was that process like?
It actually wasn't that difficult. In fact, jumping into sales from being an appraiser was probably a very easy transition for me, because all I had to do was really learn how to write a contract and know the addendums that I need to prepare. And because I had already read all of that stuff as an appraiser, because you always had the contract, so you saw it. I just needed to learn, when do I do it?
Right.
And so so the transition from the appraisal world to the sales world was very easy.
That's so fascinating, because most of the time you're an appraiser. You had the closing experience, so I guess that makes sense. You still had to deal with the public. Appraisers and inspectors, they have a job, a very physical, finite kind of job that they have to do, and parameters they have to live within. And yes, they have to deal with the realtor and the consumer, but that they're not out selling that necessarily. Having an appraisal and an inspector is a necessary evil, what we all do in real estate.
Well, and I think too, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
And you know what? As an appraiser, I literally met with no one.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't really, when you go into a house, you couldn't really discuss things with the homeowner. Now, I had, of course, we had conversation and stuff, but I'm a people person. So that's why I was like, you know what? I really think I can do sales. I can do it. So
what was that like? So if people are listening, and they want to jump into sales, they think they've got a gift. What is it that some advice that you can give them? Because people actually believe that what we do on the mortgage side and the real estate side, we're all rolling up in our gold Rolls Royce. It's so easy. It's just, and so talk a little bit about some of the trials, some of the things that you've had to learn along the way.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing, it's education. education is knowledge. And so the one thing that I did, and quite honestly, this is probably why I got so involved at Aura, because as an appraiser, it was not. I had the education. I knew. I took my classes. I did that stuff. But I started really taking all the classes at Aura, and I think that it was just learning and getting out there. And you know what? It's going to be hard work. When I first started in sales, yeah, I had a database. I had, a good following, but they didn't know me as a realtor.
That's such an important part. So you guys listen to that. She had the database, and I think all of us have some sort of database. We don't realize it. But if people aren't thinking of you in that role, you're still having to recreate yourself and basically start from scratch and tell people, hey, I'm not Lisa the appraiser anymore. I'm Lisa the realtor.
That's it.
And so, believe it or not, that's not an easy thing to do, guys. It can be very challenging, and you have to really shift people's mindset about who you are. Mm-hmm. And so tell them a little bit, what does Aura stand for, just in case anybody who's watching doesn't know.
It's the Orlando Regional Realtor Association.
So you're in sales, you obviously become successful. What's the point, or what was the reason why you decided to become a leader? And I say leader because you're on the boards for Aura, you're an officer for Aura, you are involved in our community. And a lot of people, I think, want to get involved, but they don't know how to, or they think nobody's going to want me to get involved. But you're very passionate about leadership.
I am.
So talk about why that's important and how you got there. Because just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean you can become a leader.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, I started with the leadership class, the academy that Aura has. And I thought, you know what, I'll just take it, because at the time I had opened up my own brokerage. And so I thought, you know what, this can only be good because I'm a leader in my brokerage. So I'll just take the class and see what happens. Right. And so at the time, Steve Merchant was our president.
Merchant.
Yeah. And so between Steve and then Zola Sorenses,
also love him.
He came in, and Zola, because he's an ex-president of Aura. I say ex, past. Sorry, Zola.
Past president.
Oops, not ex.
It's okay.
So between him and Steve and a few other of our amazing leaders that we have now, they started talking to me. And the year that Zola became president, I kept getting these emails. President Zola requests your appointment to blah, blah, blah. So he was appointing me to all this stuff. I finally picked up the phone and said, stop. Just stop. Yeah. And so I gradually worked my way. And, I thought, am I going to make it or am I not?
Well, we talked about this earlier. So a lot of times people see in you the leadership qualities before you see them.
That's it.
Which is lovely, because that to me is the testament of a true leader. So Zola, Steve, people who are in that position, they look for underdeveloped talent, people who now step into the leadership positions. And a lot of times, if you're on the front line, which is what we were and where we started, you're not thinking that you can do what they do. How are you going to run your business and be part of this and all the time commitment? And so it's wonderful when somebody says, all right, I've seen what Lisa's doing. She's got the ability. Now we need to tell her she's got the ability.
That's it.
And so when you got to that meeting, because we talked about it, you had your first meeting, and you're like, guys, what is this about? What's happening?
Yeah, well, it was with Lou Nimkoff and Zola, and they both said to me, okay, it's time. You're ready. And I was like,
no, I'm not.
That's exactly what I said. I'm like, come on, guys.
No.
Yeah. And so Lou actually said to me, he was getting ready his incoming year. He said, I want to see your name on the ballot for director.
And what did you say? Did you go, hell no?
Well, I went. I did the typical, okay.
Okay, whatever you say.
And so, but then they kept on me. Yeah. And so, it was their encouragement that kept me thinking, okay, well, maybe I can do this.
Right.
You know, why not try? All that can happen is it won't happen. You know, so
Correct, which is a great approach. I think people get so caught up in, all right, I'm doing this, and if I don't make it, let's say I don't get a board position, all right, I don't win that election, that everything's over and it wasn't meant to be, and I'm going to drop out, I'm not going to do anything. And that's really not how you're supposed to think. One question that a lot of people have, and it's across the board, it's not just real estate. If I get involved in my organization, whatever that is, it's in my industry, in my community, how is that helping my business? How am I balancing? Am I spending so much time working on the organization? We'll use Aura for your example. And then my business begins to fail, or is it the complete opposite? What's been your experience?
It's actually the opposite. And the reason I think that it's so good is once you get involved, you get invited to so many different community events, and
right.
You can volunteer in the community, and you can, work with Habitat, and there's just so many things that you can do, and it gets your name in the community. And quite honestly, we as realtors, you got to be recognized. And when I walk into Publix now, I have people stop me and say, "Oh, we know you. You're the Renovation Nation lady," And
Ooh,
so
Renovation Nation, I like that. We're gonna talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So, but I think that it just really helps you get known in the community, and that's what it's all about.
Well, we've had a conversation I don't know, a couple of times. Probably I was at the bar. You were being innocent and drinking water. I was not. But I think it's important to have when you're giving back, when you're planting the seeds, you're gonna reap what you sow, and you're going to get a benefit from giving back. And I think people equate, oh my God, I don't have the time. I've got young kids, I've got older kids, I've got parents who are elderly, I've got my job, I'm barely making ends meet, Ted. How can I possibly get involved in my industry organization, let alone community? And they don't realize that is how you expand your business exponentially.
Exactly.
And so that's why when you wanted to talk about leadership, and I know you're a passionate leader, the leadership thing is so important. Now, does that mean that everybody has to be I'm going to ask you this, does everyone have to be a board member, an officer to make an impact?
No, we have so many committees at Aura. We have a committee that will fit anybody.